My name is Maria Koinova and I'm the principal investigator of the European Research Council Starting Grant Diasporas and Contested Sovereignty. I'm here to discuss with you a paper of mine which I have presented in a couple of venues, and which is interested in understanding how the diaspora embeddedness in different contexts affects their transnational mobilization trajectories. With this paper, I'm trying to bring a new angle through which to see international relations in international politics when it comes to diasporas. Most of scholarship so far has been interested in thinking about diasporas as amassing financial resources, which is certain sort of material power, whether it is through the context in which they live or through other contexts. Other ways in which diasporas are seen is through the ways in which they get access to different institutions, whether they get abilities to lobby these institutions and to what degree. And the third type of scholarship thinks about how diasporas can mobilize others when it comes to shared identities. Here I try to bring socio-positional thinking, which is embedded in the concept of positionality, which I develop in depth in this paper. In short, the idea is that where diasporas mobilize and what kind of linkages these diaspora activists have to these places really matters, as they are not simply mobilized in states, but in transnational social fields which structure their behaviors. Let me give you a couple of examples. The first example comes from Armenian diaspora mobilization for genocide recognition. The field in which the Armenian diaspora has operated transnationally has been quite big, as it had spread after the Armenian genocide in 1915 to all continents. In that sense, the biggest hubs for mobilization activities have been Lebanon, France, and to a certain degree, at a later point of time, the United States. These have been contexts that have attracted and hosted many of the genocide survivors and later on their descendants, which have turned into conflict-generated diasporas. By contrast, these strong hubs of diaspora mobilization comes the example of Russia. Armenians in Russia are even more numerous than the most numerous number, which is in the United States. And yet, these people have not been very strongly related to the issue of the Armenian genocide, since neither they nor their ancestors have been very strongly related to the experience of the Armenian genocide. That's why the field of transnational mobilization on genocide recognition basically and to a large degree excludes the Armenians based in Russia. With regards to the mobilization of the Palestinian diaspora for statehood recognition, we also observe that large field in which Palestinians have been spread as a result of the conflicts in the Middle East. Strong hubs for mobilization in the Middle East have been traditionally Lebanon, to a certain degree Jordan, transition states, and in the Western world, the United Kingdom. The context of London has been very strong about providing support for protest groups, because it has managed to amplify a lot of their claims through a very dense media context. By contrast, the United States has not been a very strong traditional hub for Palestinian mobilization, as has never been also Germany, which has hosts a very large number of Palestinians and yet very strongly connected to Lebanon only and very little mobilized. In terms of policy recommendations, I would like to suggest to policymakers to think about how diasporas are connected to context, where to mobilize, what kind of connectivities and socio-spatial relationships they hold to the context in which they live. Not only to the context in which they are physically embedded, but into the context in which they may be related with regard to their home states and other adjacent territories.